In the American family court system, thousands of cases are heard every single day. Most are mundane disputes about weekends, holidays, or child support payments. But occasionally, a litigant enters the courtroom with a lie so audacious, so easily disprovable, that the case transforms from a simple dispute into a public execution of character. Today, we are conducting a forensic analysis of the case Crosby versus Stevens. On the surface, this appears to be a minor dispute over baby furniture, a crib, some clothes, a car seat. But beneath the surface, this is a masterclass in weaponized victimhood, control, and the most dangerous phrase a young parent can utter in a courtroom without proof: I have sole custody. We are going to break down this case minute by minute. We will analyze the psychological deflection used by the plaintiff, the stoic defense of the defendant, and the exact moment down to the second where a young mother realizes she has walked into a trap of her own making. This is the story of how a single 65-second lie destroyed an entire legal argument. Let's begin with the players. We have two 18-year-olds, barely adults themselves, yet responsible for a 5-month-old life. The dynamic established in the first 30 seconds of this trial sets the stage for the disaster to come.
How old are you?
I'm 18.
Mr. Stevens, Osemneist. Who do you live with, Miss Crosby?
I live with my best friend and her mother.
And how old is your friend? So you live with your 7-year-old friend. Is that you?
No, I'm her mother.
That would be a compliment. So you took Miss Crosby in with her baby?
Yes.
Pause here. We need to deconstruct the living situation immediately, because it is the foundation of the plaintiff's instability. Miss Crosby, the mother, is 18 years old. She is not living with her parents. She is not living independently in her own apartment. She is living with a 17-year-old friend. In the eyes of a family court judge, or in this case, Judge Judy, stability is the currency of credibility. By admitting in the first 20 seconds that she is relying on the charity of a friend's mother to house her and her infant, Ms. Crosby has already started the trial with a massive deficit. Notice the tone of Judge Judy's questioning. She uses humor complimenting the mother of the friend, but this is a tactical disarming technique. She wants the witnesses to feel comfortable, so they lower their guard. She is establishing a baseline. Who is the actual adult in the room? Currently, it appears there are no adults on the plaintiff's side. Only children raising children.
You and Mr. Stevens have a child together. How old is that child?
He is 5 months. Do you work?
No.
Have you ever worked?
Yes, I have.
When?
Around end of May, beginning of June.
So maybe you worked 3 weeks?
Yeah.
I'm not talking about 3 weeks worth of work. I'm talking about, did you work in 2016?
No.
Here begins the forensic accounting of Miss Crosby's responsibility. The judge asks a simple question: do you work? The answer is no, but it is the follow-up that reveals the character flaw that will define this entire hour. When pressed on her work history, Miss Crosby admits to working for a total of maybe 3 weeks in the massive span of time between 2016 and 2017. For an 18-year-old who is not in school and has a child to support, this gap is significant. It suggests a lack of drive, or perhaps an expectation that others will provide for her. But pay close attention to what happens next. In psychology, this is known as an external locus of control. This is the belief that one's failures are always caused by outside forces, never by internal decisions. Miss Crosby cannot simply say, "I have been lazy," or "it is hard to find work." Instead, she must find a villain. She must weaponize her unemployment to attack the father.
Who supports you?
They do. The reason why I don't work now is because he has called CPS and the policeman on me so many times that I had to ask off. And finally they said, "Well, we're just going to take you off the schedule."
I know that he called CPS on you.
There it is, the pivot. She claims she lost her job at Burger King not because of performance, not because of attendance, but because the father, Mr. Stevens, called Child Protective Services and the police so many times. Let's analyze the logic of this claim for a moment. For a fast food franchise to fire an employee because the police checked on them requires a level of disruption that suggests absolute chaos. If the police came and found nothing repeatedly, it might be harassment. But if the police came and found cause for concern, the firing is justified. Ms. Crosby is attempting to paint Mr. Stevens as a stalker, a saboteur of her livelihood. She wants the court to see him as the reason for her poverty. But Judge Judy, who has presided over 20,000 cases, knows that high-conflict people often attract high-conflict situations. If the police are constantly at your job, the problem usually isn't the person calling. It is the drama you are bringing to the workplace. Furthermore, notice Mr. Stevens' reaction, or lack thereof. He does not interrupt. He does not roll his eyes. He stands stoically. This nonverbal communication is already building a case for his stability against her chaos.
Where were you living prior to moving with these people?
I was living with him.
Where?
In North Vernon. In his grandmother's house.
Did you live with the grandmother while you were pregnant?
For a short while.
You have parents. Evidently, the parents aren't an option to live with.
Right.
And what happened Christmas?
I moved in with him because my dad no longer allowed me in his place.
To understand the lie that is coming later in this story, we must first understand the timeline of the relationship. It is a timeline of erratic movement, instability, and rejection. We learn that Miss Crosby was kicked out of her own father's house on Christmas. This is a crucial detail. While we do not know the specifics, when a parent evicts a pregnant teenage daughter on a major family holiday, it implies a breakdown of relationships so severe that it raises red flags about the daughter's behavior in the home. She moves in with the boyfriend. She moves out. She moves in with a friend. She goes back to the boyfriend. She leaves again. This is not just young love. This is a pattern of impulsivity. And in the middle of this hurricane of moving boxes and emotional breakups, there is a 5-month-old baby being dragged along for the ride.
You left Mr. Stevens' grandmother's house at some point and went for a couple of days, probably, to stay with these people?
Right. I left with the baby, yeah.
And then you came back. And what happened when you came back?
I thought we could work out, but he decided to be controlling.
Okay. And how long did you stay at that point?
I stayed a few weeks.
Until when?
Around the time I was working. In May.
And what happened in May? You left.
Yes.
When you left, did you take the baby with you?
Yes, I did.
Notice the language used here. I thought we could work out, but he decided to be controlling. In high conflict relationships, the term controlling is often subjective. To a chaotic person, structure feels like control. If Mr. Stevens asked where she was going, or asked her to help with the baby, or asked her to save money to an immature partner, these reasonable requests can be framed as controlling behavior to justify leaving again. She leaves, she comes back for a few weeks, she leaves again. This behavior is devastating for a child. While a 5-month-old may not understand the arguments, they absolutely sense the disruption in their environment. The cortisol levels in the home rise, the stability of the nest is destroyed. Miss Crosby treats the father's home not as a family unit, but as a hotel she can check out of whenever the vibes aren't right.
And Mr. Stevens, you're 18. What do you do?
I work at Martin Ria. It's a factory in North Vernon.
How long have you worked there?
I've only worked there a few months. I worked at Burger King from February of 2016 to March of 2017.
Did you work full-time or part-time?
Full-time.
When Miss Crosby was living in the house with you and your grandmother, was she working?
No, she was not.
Here is the smoking gun. Here is the contrast that destroys Miss Crosby's victim narrative. Mr. Stevens is 18 years old. He is working at a factory. Factory work is not easy. It is physically demanding, repetitive, and requires discipline. You cannot be late. You cannot make excuses. And look at his history. He worked at Burger King for over a year full-time, from age 16 to 17. Do you know how rare it is for a teenager to hold a fast food job for a full year without quitting? It shows immense character. It shows he shows up. He does what needs to be done. Compare this to Miss Crosby, who worked maybe 3 weeks and blamed her firing on the police. Mr. Stevens was the provider. He was the stability. He was the one bringing money into the house while she was living there. When Judge Judy hears full time, her entire demeanor shifts. She realizes she is dealing with a responsible young man who is being dragged through the mud by an irresponsible partner.
Okay, this is what the case is about. You left. You want your baby's stuff. You took your stuff, but you want the crib. You want all the baby's items. He says, the baby's items are staying here. And you have a complaint that he called CPS on you on, I don't know, 2 occasions or 3?
3.
3 occasions after you left the last time? Okay. Let's deal with the baby's items.
Let's pause and look at what Miss Crosby is actually suing for. She wants the baby items, the crib, the clothes, the toys. Why does she want them? Obviously, the baby needs a crib, but psychologically, this request represents something darker: erasure. If she takes the crib from Mr. Stevens' house, she removes the baby's presence from his home. She turns his home back into a bachelor pad. She wants to strip his environment of any evidence that he is a father. As long as the crib is there, he has a nursery. He has a space for his daughter. By suing for these items, she is attempting to dismantle his capacity to parent. She claims he called CPS 3 times. She sees this as harassment. But consider Mr. Stevens' perspective. His unemployment ex-girlfriend has taken his child to live in a crowded house with a 7-year-old friend. He doesn't know if the baby is safe. He doesn't know if the baby has a bed. Calling CPS isn't harassment in this context. It is the desperate act of a father who has been locked out of his child's life.
Do you see the baby?
No, I do not.
Why not?
She will not let me see him. She now says that her lawyer has told her not to let me see the baby at all.
I have sole custody, so I can decide whether or not he can see him.
And there it is, the admission. She will not let me see him. This is called maternal gatekeeping. It is the belief that the mother is the primary owner of the child and the father is merely a visitor who must earn privileges. But look at what Miss Crosby adds. She says her lawyer told her not to let me see the baby at all. This is a critical error. Miss Crosby is invoking the authority of a lawyer. But does she have a lawyer? Can an unemployed 8-year-old afford a family law attorney who charges $300 an hour? It is highly unlikely. She is using the word lawyer as a weapon to scare the father into submission. Then she drops the nuclear bomb, the sentence that changes everything. I have sole custody, so I can decide whether or not he can see him. In the next segment, we will watch in slow motion as this statement, this confident, arrogant declaration of power, becomes the very thing that destroys her credibility forever. Judge Judy is about to ask for the receipts, and Miss Crosby is empty-handed.
Just a second. I'd like to see the document that says that you decide when he can see him.
Oh, I don't have a document.
What you say. If you have full custody and the court says that visitation is strictly at your discretion with the father, I would like to see that.
I couldn't get the reports. They kept sending me to another police station in our town.
I don't care about the reports. There's a court order for custody. You said you have full custody. Who gave you full custody?
Stop the tape. This is the moment the heir leaves the room. Miss Crosby just spent the last 10 minutes acting as if she had the absolute legal authority of the Supreme Court behind her. She claimed she had a lawyer. She claimed she had sole custody. But when Judge Judy simply asks, "Show me the paper," the response is telling, "Oh, I don't have a document." Notice the deflection immediately after. She starts talking about police reports again. She is trying to confuse the issue. She thinks if she talks about the police, the judge will forget about the custody order. But Judge Judy is a laser beam. She doesn't care about police reports. She wants the custody order. Because without that piece of paper, Miss Crosby is just a person kidnapping a child from its father.
The clerk office in our town, but we didn't get the order.
Well, then if you don't have an order, you don't have an order. Was there a trial?
No.
Was there a hearing?
No.
There was nothing.
This is the most embarrassing moment for the plaintiff. She admits that her sole custody came from the clerk's office. Let's be very clear about how the law works. A court clerk is an administrative employee. They file papers, they stamp forms, they answer phones. They do not have the authority to strip a biological father of his parental rights. Miss Crosby likely went to the window, asked a question, and perhaps a clerk said, "Well, since you're the mother and you're unmarried, you have the baby for now." She took that casual comment, twisted it in her mind, and turned it into sole custody. Judge Judy asks 3 fatal questions. Was there a trial? No. Was there a hearing? No. Do you have an order? No. If there was no trial and no hearing, there is no custody. Miss Crosby has been keeping this baby away from the father illegally. She has been playing judge, jury, and executioner based on absolutely nothing. The look on her face is the realization that her power was an illusion. Judge Judy's final ruling is swift and brutal. By exposing the lie, she strips Miss Crosby of her leverage. The lesson here is profound for any young parent watching. You cannot simply decide that the other parent is unworthy. You cannot use your child as a bargaining chip for baby furniture. And you certainly cannot walk into a national courtroom and lie about court orders that do not exist. Mr. Stevens, the 8-year-old factory worker, walks away with his dignity intact. He didn't scream, he didn't fight dirty. He just told the truth. I work, I have a home, and I want to see my daughter. In the end, the sole custody lie didn't protect Miss Crosby. It exposed her. It showed the world that she was willing to fabricate legal reality just to hurt her ex-boyfriend. And in Judge Judy's courtroom, that kind of deception never wins. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the psychology of the courtroom, make sure to hit the like button. What do you think? Did Miss Crosby actually believe her own lie, or did she know she was wrong the whole time? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe for more forensic breakdowns of the cases that defined reality TV justice. I'll see you in the next case.